Hello? Is it? Is it showing?
Not with us, but to go live, start playing.
Okay. Okay. Let me start.
Ask him if he can hear me. Can you hear me, Pastor JR? Is he responding? No. Okay. I'm talking on here. Can you hear me from the phone? No, not the phone. Yeah. Can you hear me to make sure the sound? You can hear.
Can you hear the
Can you hear
sound?
it from the phone?
Yeah,
From the phone.
from the phone.
You can't hear any audio.
Yeah, from the phone. Okay.
Yeah. Tell them to go live.
Okay, they're like yes.
But not with us. Ne?
Please take us a call.
Hello. Let's not go with us. They must go live. We should go live on the COJ page and start those ads. The
No, sister, I'm the shop steward. Yeah, I'm the chairperson of
Can you give me the number?
Hey, shut up. Which one? Public policy mabethi maraya. Nalihlukumeze India Alpha public policy. Hayi mamela India Alpha public policy. SPU. Our number. That is our number. Hello. Those are our enemy number one, those ones. Comrades, the crew ya city. Kila nini responsible for page ya city. Na ukiabona kosa kazi. Yes, yabona kosa kazi gani na hakuti. Kila nini responsible for page ya city. Kala linaloa raba ndio tini kupita. I don't tweet. I do events. So there's an event. That's what I'm responsible for. That's all. Oh, there's a team that tweets. It's a different team. So today, what are you guys covering? The budget speech. Budget speech in Jonathan. Yeah. Chumela. Sorry? Can we go this way to access the
Hello?
channel? Yes. So you're going to go here. On that bridge. Yeah. Oh. All right.
Hey, JR, how are you? Okay, you're standby. Okay, you're standby. That's live.
Okay.
Yeah. That's live. Yeah, no, that's live now. The MNC is here.
Ba ko tlase ba ke ba bona ke kopa JPD officers go the link ya Brava. Yes. 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 It's just that they're a bit far. Mobile internet.
Stop. Bambinho. Yeah, Bambinho. Bambinho. Yeah. This is Thomas said to this. What's
I'm asking questions.
Yeah.
Me too.
Faz uma.
But the whole thing
Yeah, man. Money people. Someone is coming to protest.
Protocol. This is the money. Thank you. Thank you so much. 80 million.
We can go immediately.
Okay.
All right.
I just want outreach.
Councillor Booth. Yes, the money.
Joburg, a low-cost African city. I have believed you have fun. Let us speak again.
MMC, all the best.
Men, even so. Yeah, to them, I'm going
Just make sure one thing. Tanya, ask our ANC chief whip.
Yeah, I'm speaking to Brenda.
Yeah, just make sure people are
It's done.
And I'm about camera and thing. Thank you. Bye.
Come to more. Come.
Tanya, she must come here. She not with me. And it's 10. I also cancel some problem.
Check. Nam.
Judge.
Yes.
Hey. 80 billion.
Waiting for you.
All right. That's right.
Waiting for you.
Masha,
Yeah.
our councillors.
Yes. Sister. All of them are sister.
Okay, yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, we can come and send the executive please.
can just close it now.
For prayer and meditation. I ask for a moment of silence. Guests, councillors, can we respect this moment of silence for prayer and meditation, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Councillor Dada, this is the first time in the history of democratic local government.
Good afternoon, councillors and guests. It is hereby notified that the 20th extraordinary meeting for the budget speech of the City of Johannesburg Municipality will be held on Tuesday, 13th June 2023 at 2 p.m., followed by budget speech debate and consideration of reports on Wednesday, the 14th of June 2023 at 10 a.m. at the Constance Babela Council Chamber, Metropolitan Centre in Braamfontein. First item on the agenda is opening.
Thank you, Acting Secretary to Council. Once again, I greet all the councillors, our guests and our residents, and those that are following us online. It is my pleasant duty and a great honor to welcome you all this afternoon to this meeting. I would like to firstly acknowledge the guests that has joined us today and the distinguished guests that have made the time to come. We have in our midst today the Premier of Gauteng, Honorable Lessufi. We welcome you, sir. We welcome the MEC of Cllr, Honorable Khumalo. We also welcome MEC of Finance, Honorable Mamabolo. We welcome Member of Legislature, Honorable Mfikwe. We've got the members of Rolesa. We welcome Chief Mgiba Bayete. We also welcome all the other chiefs and representatives of the various chieftaincies, Bayete. We also welcome the entourage of Rolesa and all the leadership that is here in present. We welcome the political party leaders as follows: the President of the Patriotic Alliance, Mr. Gating McKenzie, the EFF Provincial Chairperson and MMC of Finance of Ekurhuleni, Mr. Councillor Dunga, we welcome the EFF Provincial Secretary, Mr. Koma. We welcome the IFP Provincial Chairperson, Mr. Dlamini, the Provincial Deputy Chair, Ms. Majosi of the IFP, and Elderman Ngobese of the IFP, and also Provincial Chairperson, Provincial Secretary. We welcome the former Speaker of the City of Johannesburg and member of the ANC PEC, Ms. Nongeba Mulwele Mazibuko. We have also in our midst the ANC Regional Secretary, Mr. Sasabona Manganyi. We welcome the member of the REC of AIC, Ms. Williams. We also welcome the Deputy Secretary General of APC, Ms. Pilekile Lifu. We have in our midst the speakers from other municipalities. We welcome the Speaker of Ekurhuleni, Councillor Tsivenga. We welcome the Speaker of Tshwane, Councillor Mzwanana. We welcome the SAMU National Secretary General, Mr. Nkosi. We also welcome Imatu National Secretary General, Mr. Lee. Coming back home, we welcome our Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Kwamande. Members of the Mayoral Committee, the Whip of Council, Councillor Zungu. We also welcome the Chair of Chairs, Councillor Phillips, Section 79 chairpersons, leaders of the leader of the official opposition, Councillor Echenzonjoku, our City Manager, Mr. Brink, Acting Secretary to Council, Mr. Gobinga, our city officials. We also welcome in our midst representatives of faith-based organizations and various religious organizations. We welcome the representatives of the Provincial Drug Authority Gauteng, led by Ms. Pillay. We welcome the representatives of business and various sponsors, and we have in our midst the representatives of Transnet. We also welcome the representatives of all youth parliaments, members of the media, and all other distinguished guests that we may not have acknowledged. We welcome you and we thank you very much for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen, and to our beloved city of Johannesburg. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here today for the budget presentation for the 2023-24 budget presentation of the city of Johannesburg. Of us trembled in the earthquake that occurred around the city of Johannesburg. It is said to be originating near the mine in Boksburg, some 27 kilometers from Johannesburg. The earthquake of this nature and this strength is not very common in Africa, and it has caused minimum structural damage in some parts of our city. No major incidents were reported to our office. We did note some of our residents who took to social media to share their experiences and damage to their homes. Would like to encourage our residents to continue to monitor their facilities and their buildings, especially those dwelling in vulnerable communities like the informal settlements and all-story buildings. If any further damages are reported, the city will see how to assist, especially the most vulnerable of our communities. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to acknowledge once again the enormous honor to host the budget speech, and I thank all those who have been involved and working very hard to prepare but to connect diverse people of different views, of different needs, or of different faiths with different opinions for a harmonious dialogue, which is what we believe will prevailing grave conditions that our residents find themselves in. By law, this is followed by the budget presentation, which is also very important. We trust Executive Mayor that this budget will convert the government of local invest and create opportunities for growth and prosperity, especially for our young people. And on that note, I welcome you once again to the budget presentation 2023. We will now move to the next item on our agenda.
Can we ask them to sign the register again?
I'm going to ask legal to check quorum for us. While they do so, we can move to the leave of absence.
The next item is application for leave of absence.
Councillor Rafeti.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. Councillor Theo Doyle on private.
Thank you. Councillor Dami.
Thank you, Speaker. Councillor Keith Mati, sick leave. Councillor Mufukeng will leave at 3 o'clock. Councillor Rapadi, urgent matter in the ward. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Makuba.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. From the IFP, Councillor Kanyile, private business. Thank you.
Councillor Cotrius.
Thank you, Speaker. Councillor Ismi Liebenberg, sick. Councillor Karen van der Skeef, sick. Councillor Ayanda Mchunu, not sick. She's on maternity leave.
Thank you, Councillor Dami again.
Thank you, Speaker. From the EFF, Councillor Ntlapo, private business. Councillor Netamba, private business.
Thank you, Councillor Muhapi. Councillor Dami, you can come again. Councillor Smith.
Hello, Councillor and Council and Speaker. We have an LOA for Councillor Morero, private business. Councillor Palazzi, private business.
We approve the leave of absence as submitted. Thank you.
We now move to with the item of the budget speech.
Thank you, Secretary to Council. We have 214 councillors that are present in the chambers, so the meeting collates and we shall proceed with the item as read out. In text, subsection 1, the council of a municipality must for each financial year approve an annual budget for the municipality before the start of the financial year. Subsection 2, in order for a municipality to comply with subsection 1, the mayor of the municipality must table the annual budget at a council meeting at least 90 days before the start of the budget year. Councillors, be reminded that the draft budget was presented to Council in March 2023, followed by the IDP public consultation processes, and today, Council will be presented with a budget for the 2023-24 financial year. Executive Mayor, I now welcome you to deliver the proposed 2023-24 budget presentation for the City of Johannesburg.
Thank you very much, Speaker of Council. I'd like to acknowledge all the political leaders in the House, the residents, and the distinguished guests, the administration, the legislator, and the members of the Mayoral Committee. Madam Speaker, in terms of Section 59, subsection 1 of the Municipal Finance Management Act 53 of 2003, the MFMA, read with subsection 60, Section 60, subsection 1 of the Local Government Municipal Structures Act 117, 1998, I hereby delegate the duty to present the annual budget for approval by the Municipal Council to the MMC of Finance, Councillor Dada Morero. I thank you.
Oh, give him a chair to stand on.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you very much. Can all
I
the
love the
councillors,
suitcase, MMC. I love the suitcase.
all the councillors, please sit down. Councillors, kindly take your seat. Councillor Rocha, take your seat. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Morero, MMC of Finance, you have been dedicated the responsibility to present the budget. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. At this point, I would like to take an opportunity to thank Tashana Davis, who had worked with me into the chamber today, raising quite critical questions that young people of Johannesburg continue to raise on how is government responding to your own plight as young people of Jozi. She's also accompanied by 3 other young women, one from Notgeseg, one from Eldorado Park, and one from Deep Blue. And I want to appreciate their presence, and they are sitting somewhere there in the public gallery. Madam Speaker, with your permission, please allow me to do things differently. Difficult times calls for drastic measures, and later in the speech, I will observe legislative protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, who is familiar with the phrase, "I blew it"? Perhaps let me repeat. Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, who is familiar with the phrase, "I blew it"? Just for a moment, please close your eyes and imagine being left with 5 billion. One day you wake up and you realize you are broke and there are agent bills to be paid. What do you do? Just for a moment, imagine owing just under 9.6 billion and you have no clue where to start because everyone is slowly losing confidence in you. How would you feel if you had to be in my shoes right now and have to tell society that in the financial year ended June 2022, the city of Johannesburg billing services was below budget by 3.4 billion, whilst overspending on the purchase of bulk services was at 342 million. In 2022, the city of Johannesburg achieved an operating deficit of 1 billion against a budgeted operating surplus of 1.1 billion, resulting in an underperformance for the year of 2.1 billion. This underperformance was mainly due to the higher underperformance in revenue compared to the level of underspending in expenditure. The city is losing a significant amount in electricity and water losses, which peaked in June 2022 at 30% and 32% respectively. The losses both increased from 29% and 25% for electricity and water, and in June 2021. This reflects a deterioration in the management of losses as the city pays in full for these services, but a significant part thereof is lost in technical and non-technical losses. The outcome of the revenue underperformance against budget, pronounced in itself, is a significant decrease in the cash balances of the city, from 6.6 billion in June 2021 to 3.8 billion. The city's 3.8 billion cash balance in 2022 included unspent grants of 762 million. The city has not been able to secure rollovers on this unspent grants as the administration had failed to appoint a city manager and a group chief financial officer. There was an increase in a number of key municipal entities in overdraft positions. The city's debt levels reached unaffordable levels, and this led to financial institutions showing reluctance in providing funding to the city. This is in contrast to the appetite that financial institutions used to have on the city's debt during the 2014-2015 administration, due to the high credit rating the city achieved from credit rating institutions. In the 12 months ended June 2022, the city could only raise 1.5 billion in loans compared to the budgeted amount of 2.1 billion. The city lacked deliberate plans for the repayment of loans and bonds, which will mature in the near future. In the current financial year ending June 2023, the city will be required to repay over 3 billion of its debt. The current cash level and poor revenue collection has placed the repayment of the debt at significant risk. Madam Speaker, not only does it end there, but we are required to inform the entire Johannesburg family that we need a minimum of 4.3 billion per month to fund the city's operations and deliver services so that we can survive as people of Johannesburg. Unfortunately, there's no 4.3 billion to survive. Of course, there is no 4.3 billion to survive. Is this shocking, right? Is this shocking, right? So how do we get here? Madam Speaker, at this point, allow me to observe protocol. The Honorable Speaker of Council, Councillor Colleen Makubela, Honorable Chief Whip of Council, Councillor Zungu, and Chair of Chairs, Councillor Phillips. The Honorable Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Kabelo Kwamanda, members of the Mayoral Committee, Honorable Councillors, fellow ministers and deputy ministers who might be here, the Premier of Gauteng, Premier Lisufi, the MEC of Finance, MEC Mama Bolo, and members of the provincial legislature who are here, the President of the South African Local Government Association, the City Manager, and your administrative team, leaders of organized labor, SAMU and IMATU, members of the Fourth Estate, the media, leaders of political parties who are here, recognizing the African National Congress, the Regional Secretary, Comrade Sasa Mangani, the Deputy Chair of the ANC, Deputy Chairperson Simon Mota, the Regional Treasurer of the ANC, Maxwell Nezamba, leaders of all caucuses in council, fellow South Africans, fellow Joburgers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When someone tells you that you are living on borrowed time, do not underestimate this statement. We should not be afraid because we have traveled this journey before. It is us who put in place a fair and democratic process that enabled us to collectively develop a vision that is shared and enjoyed by all. It is us who designed and implemented a model of developmental local government that is inclusive and put an end to discriminatory service delivery. As the government of local unity, we are dedicated to making the impossible possible. Madam Speaker, we tabled the 2023 IDP review and its budget during this month of the youth. To underline policy continuation across the different administration of the city, it is important for us to retell the positive Cllr 2000 story. This is our story of change and development. As in the present situation, similarly, in 2000, the city had relatively collapsed. At a financial level, we inherited a city that was in arrears with supplier payments, had no cash in the bank, was not servicing its long-term debt, low levels of operating and capital budget, had a deficit of 291 million, and had wastage caused by fraud in housing, water and non-essentials, and bad management. At an institutional level, there was no distinction between commercial and other activities, where 5 administrations had caused duplication and there was no coordination. Was fragmentation, and existed a huge gap between policy decisions and implementation. There was no performance management. We had cumbersome bureaucratic procedures, and we had weak management information systems and lack of management skills. This failed state resulted in a free fall that guaranteed the running down of city infrastructure, reduced services, increased backlogs, produced low morale and productivity, and bad or underutilization of money, people, and assets. To the youth of Jozi, history may repeat itself, but as it repeats itself, we must remember that there was a plan driven by leaders who were focused, a collective which had widely consulted a plan called Cllr 2000 and was put in place. This plan reimagined Johannesburg. At the center of this plan was about getting the basics right so that Greater Johannesburg becomes a city of living, a city of business, a city of people, a city for the millennium. 10 years later, from Cllr 2000, the vision of being a world-class African city was born. We transformed the city with less than 50 billion today, with less than 50 billion. Today, we have made tough decisions because people of Johannesburg are trusting us with a budget that is informed by their needs. Today, our budget for 2023-2024 operational expenditure sits at 73.3 billion. Meanwhile, our capital expenditure stands at 7.6 billion for 2023-2024, with a three-year capital budget of 24 billion. Alone will not solve all the societal challenges. We call upon the private sector, especially you are our primary witness in Bentley 2000 and our growth and development strategy of 2040. Please confirm that we are the ones that turned the city's finances around, and we were celebrated by the world because we did the following: achieved a surplus of 3.9 billion throughout the financial year, increased the city's capital spending by 38% from 7.3 billion to 10.1 billion capital investment, spent 94% of the city's record 10.1 billion approved capital budget, ensured that the city's cash and cash equivalents are at year-end amounted to 4.9 billion, excluding the 3.7 billion reserved for future debt redemption, despite the capital expenditure increasing by 38%. We achieved a revenue collection rate of 92%, maintained healthy levels of liquidity, notwithstanding the successful redemption of debt amounting to 971 million, including the listed bonds and loans received from investors. We successfully raised 3.3 billion long-term borrowings to fund infrastructure investments to improve the lives of Joburg citizens. We maintained with Fitch Ratings and Moody's Investor Services during the difficult economic climate where the global trend has been that of institutions suffering downgrades in the recent times. The city achieved 15% reduction in waste to landfill and installed over 61,000 electricity smart meters. Celebrated many of our own who were elected in international institutions such as the UCLG co-presidents, the co-president of the Global Fund for Cities Development, and vice president of the Network for Locally Elected Women of Africa. We were celebrated for being the first city in the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group to issue a green bond and won the C40 award. In the Finance and Economic Development category for financial innovation through the issuance of the green bond to fund green projects. This was the first listed green bond on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Perhaps I should repeat. This was the first listed green bond on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. We were ranked the second most inspiring city in the world in 2014. In the 2014 Good City Index study conducted by the Global Good magazine, measuring cities in the indicators that included hub of progress, city engagements, street life, defining moments, connectivity, green life, diversity, and work-life balance. And this was the city of Johannesburg. We were ranked the 33rd most economically powerful city in the world and the #1 city in Africa, the Global Financial Centers Index. Fortunately, even in 2003, we have the policy tools and programs and resources that can be mobilized, such as the National Development Plan, the Joburg Growth and Development Strategy 2040, and the District Development Model, and the Urban Integrated Development Framework. Let us use this to maximize our impact and change lives. We are in agreement with the Minister of Cllr, or the Minister of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs, Honorable Tembing Kadimane, that local government is everyone's business. We welcome the systematic approach to mitigate against load shedding through implementing the Municipal Demand Management Program and the Municipal Revenue Management Program, which seeks to address the following amongst others, which I would quote: reduce intensity of load shedding within the municipal demarcated area of supply, reduction of the municipality's peak costs as less power will be procured from ESCOM, elevated peak traffic tariff like mega flex tariff amongst others. The introduction of smart metering technologies for both electricity and water to accelerate the load shedding mitigation measures through load limiting. These programs will also accelerate the adoption of the following interventions. Municipalities adopting a rooftop solar and battery storage with government assistance. Municipalities adopting small-scale embedded generation initiatives for business situated within the municipality. Municipalities to roll out solar water heating systems in most low-cost housings within their supply area. Fellow councillors, we also welcome the Water Resilience Action Plan, which will form the foundation of national bulk water supply and wastewater treatment plant infrastructure rehabilitation, and energy efficiency interventions within the water reticulation and sewer systems. We have implemented the Northern Wastewater Treatment Works. Therefore, we have the experience to share. It is us who took our challenges and turned them into opportunities. For instance, during 2015-2016, the city was aggressive in the implementation of smart metering technology program that was rolled out to large power users and domestic users. Remember the domestic smart meter load limiting strategy, which resulted in the city generating energy. We have what it takes to find practical and impactable solutions. Our approach to restoring the city's finances or financial capacity demands of us to allocate the limited resources sparingly and optimally to extract maximum value from each rand spent. In this context, we have carefully considered the strategic priorities, revenue generation capacity, and the ability to raise new funding to support the IDP and its budget. It is against this reality that this budget speech is held together under the theme of, I quote, "Let us make the impossible possible by making Johannesburg a center of economic growth and development," close quote. We acknowledge that the government of local unity presents this budget under very challenging circumstances where the economic landscape is unfavorable. As we present this budget, we are also constrained by the weak financial positions, as I stated previously. It is therefore one of the objectives of this budget to restore the financial position of our beloved city and ensure that the people of Johannesburg receive the services that they much deserve. Madam Speaker, the South African Reserve Bank has increased the repo rate for the 10th time now, since November 2021, in an effort to contain inflation. This has resulted in the prime lending rate increasing by a cumulative 4.75%. In this regard, our tariffs are cost-reflective and mainly informed by the increases implemented by our bulk service suppliers, such as Eskom and Rand Water. Remember, in February this year, we collectively adopted a prudent approach by limiting our funding budget in the medium term in order to improve our debt levels and overall financial outlook for the benefit of future budgets. We have no choice but to work closely with the relevant financial institutions to optimize our funding costs, considering the current high interest rate cycle. In an effort to minimize the impact of our people in this budget, we have implemented a lower rate of increase on property rates, having considered the comments received from the property owners during the budget consultation processes. Our initial proposed increase on property rates was at 5.3%, and this has now been reduced to 2%. We encourage our residents who qualify for the extended social package to register for this relief program in the spirit of ensuring that this budget is well spent. We will be implementing more initiatives to strengthen the capacity of our administration. And these initiatives includes, we will overhaul our supply chain processes by introducing a strategic sourcing function to proactively study the market and provide insights into our process of acquiring goods and services at the correct value for money. This will ensure that the city's limited resources are spent in a smart way and each rand is stretched to the limit. We will also optimize our procurement processes to ensure that from demand plan to award stage, the process is shortened within the prescripts of the FMMA and supply chain regulations. This process will include capacitating our officials through training, monitoring tools to identify and address inefficiencies. We will also ensure that all key positions are filled within the current financial year to accelerate service delivery. The full activation of our Center for Engineering Excellence will ensure that oversight on service delivery activities and infrastructure projects is significantly improved. Fellow councillors, it appears the task of effective oversight and course correction was beyond the previous administration's scope as the city was in a financial free fall. The budget rebasing of 6.7 billion was the first step of turning impossible into the. We took decisive action in the development of the budget presented today based on tough decisions. Based on tough decisions to rebuild the city's finances. Optimizing the use of the city's limited resources by doing more with less. We're going to be improving productivity and managing human resources efficiently. Allocations of resources that support strategic turnaround of key revenue-generating entities. We're going to intensify the interventions on reducing electricity and water losses. Intensify revenue enhancement strategy to yield tangible improvements in billing and collection performance. Exploring alternative funding options and partnerships. Applying cash management strategies to rebuild the cash reserves that can be a springboard for future expansion in the capital investment program. Implement the district development model by especially practicalizing private, public partnerships, which will enable us to fund different mechanisms to put in place for bulk infrastructure. The strategies have been successfully used to rebuild city's finances in the past, and again the city will rise from the ashes like the phoenix. Madam Speaker, on the priority of good governance, let us make the impossible possible by making Johannesburg a center of good governance by emphasizing the importance of transparency, accountability, and participatory governance. In our recent engagements with National Treasury, they assess the city's governance as fragile on the basis of a number of governance challenges that the city has been facing in recent years. Our second priority is financial sustainability. In this case, we are determined to turn our financial challenges to financial solutions that are essential for driving municipal performance and spending. This thing is disturbing. Achieving financial sustainability is key to unlocking the potential of our city and in extending services to deprived areas in the townships, hostels, and informal settlements. As stated previously, the trade-offs we have made have focused on ensuring we invest in the backbone of basic service delivery at the core of our municipal mandate. These budgeting priorities further inform the composition of our budget for 2023-2024. Yeah. Okay. As stated previously, the trade-offs we have made have focused on ensuring we invest in the backbone of basic service delivery at the core of our municipal mandate. These budgeting principles further inform the composition of our budget for 2023-2024, the budget of approximately 80.9 billion. Can you ask this guy to change the numbers? Yeah, Commissioner's change them. I can't see them. Did we capture 80.9 billion? Our tariff proposals have largely been based on the pass-through costs of water and electricity from Rand Water and Eskom, respectively. We are introducing the general valuation roll 2023 on the 1st of July, in line with the provisions of the Municipal Property Rates Act. Property rates revenue is the city's second largest revenue resource. These services funded from the rates revenue include health, safety, security, roads, public works, as well as many other community-related basic services. In determining the tariffs for 2023-2024 financial year, numerous factors have been considered, including not limited to market values of properties in the general valuation roll of 2023. Madam Speaker, in the new financial year 2023-2024, the property rates will increase by 2%. We have also made some changes to rebates and relief measures offered to residents, notably the introduction of a sliding scale on pensioner rates, the first 1.5 million of the property value, inclusive of the residential threshold value for pensioners between the ages of 60 and 69 will be exempted from rating. And the first 2 million of the property values inclusive of the residential threshold value for pensioners aged 70 and above will be exempted from rating. All qualifying pensioners receive the rebate and pay on the balance of values that exceed the above-mentioned threshold. The Municipal Property Rates Act permits a council to allow rebates to the owners of the residential properties with a market value lower than an amount determined by the municipality. The Act provides that the first 15,000 of the value of all the residential properties be exempt from rating. The council granted an additional threshold rebate of 285,000, giving the total threshold of 300,000 of the market value for residential property for the general valuation roll of 2023. The electricity tariff increase applicable to the 2024 financial year is 14.97 based on the NERSA determination for local government. Despite resources being limited, the budget has sought to increase of service disruptions. We have also made money available to safeguard our infrastructure from theft and vandalism. The water tariff increase applicable for 2023-2024 is 9.3% based on anticipated bulk water charge from rent water. The first 6,000 litres remains free for all the residents, while the first 6,000 litres remains free for all residents, while additional provision has been made available for indigent residents, who will receive a monthly benefit of 307 compared to the previous 25 equivalent. Sanitation tariffs increase for 2023-2024 is 9.3%, and therefore no change in the basis of the charging using property size. The refuse tariffs increase applicable for 2023-2024 is 7%, which is informed by a cost recovery model for the entity. Pick It Up is a labor-intensive business, and the bulk of its cost structure is based on staff costs. In determining a cost-reflective tariff structure, various options are being explored on waste management and landfill capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow councillors, in making budget allocations for 2023-2024 to 2025-2026 medium-term revenue and expenditure framework, the GDS 2040 remains the long-term goal that informs our strategic intent. The allocations are aligned to the 11 priorities identified by the Government of Local Unity. Let us make the impossible possible by making Johannesburg a center of sustainable services. The Environment Infrastructure Department Housing, Johannesburg Water, Pick It Up, and Johannesburg Social and Housing Company are the backbone agencies of the basic service delivery to the residents of Johannesburg. The cluster of sustainable services receives the largest portion of the budget directed to strengthening the backbone of the core municipal services. While the resources available for capital budget are limited, considering the current budgetary constraints, this cluster receives the largest share of available resources to respond to infrastructure failures that have increased over the last year. Any additional resources that become available as the city's finances improve will be directed to this cluster to bolster the continued investment in infrastructure bedlocks. A capital budget of 1.9 billion across the medium term and an operational expenditure budget of 45 million in 2023 financial year has been allocated. Is allocated an operational expenditure budget of 133.7 million and 57 million for the 3-year capital budget. This allocated budget will focus on air quality, waste, water, and biodiversity management initiatives. Pick It Up's focus is on the waste management and environmental protection, with an operating allocation of 3.9 billion and a capital budget of 681 million. The city will continue to improve the waste to energy program initiatives aims at addressing the challenge of waste management in the city while also generating electricity. This program involves converting the city's waste into energy by using thermal treatment technologies such as an incineration or gasification, which produce electricity that can be supplied to the grid. Pick It Up's operational expenditure budget allocation is 3.5 billion, and the entity is allocated 179.7 million for capital spend. This will enable the acquisition of land for the Robinson Deep landfill site and separation at source facilities and equipment. The Human Settlement Department has been allocated an operational expenditure budget of 1.2 billion and a multi-year capital budget of 5.5 billion over the medium term. Key projects funded over the medium term in human settlements includes 2.5 billion over the medium term towards mega housing development inclusive of the 2 billion towards Luferain, 140 million towards South Hills, 155 million for Flare Wharf, Southern Farms, 41 million, Cosmo City and Malibongwe Ridge, 71 million. 71 million for transitional housing to assist in providing alternative housing while city deals with hijacked and bad buildings. Overall, a number of hostels are allocated, 154 million, inclusive of 35 million for Dube, 20 million for Helen Joseph's, 49 million for Madala Hostel, an additional 30 million towards the maintenance of various hostels across the city. Grading of flats using an allocation of 65 million. The department has 302 million for the acquisition of property citywide to secure land for various housing developments. 20 million towards providing service stands as part of the formalization of informal settlements program. Through the grant allocated from the National Human Settlement Department, the city will utilize 1.6 billion for the formalization of informal settlements. With the human settlements portfolio, JOSCO provides affordable social housing opportunities. The entity has been allocated a 3-year capital budget of 1.2 billion and an operating budget of 357 million for 2020-2023-2024, continue to implement 10 key social housing projects in Region A, B, D, and F, with a mid-term capital budget allocation of 280 million. Developments include Luferrain, Marlborough, Princess Plots, Devland, Smith Street, and Cllr. Cllr in Region B. 48 million has been allocated for the upgrade and maintenance of various existing facilities. Madam Speaker, in our recent budget, benchmarking exercise with National Treasury, concern was raised about the state of investment in infrastructure for our trading entities, City Power and Joburg Water. The budget allocation and expenditure for asset renewal or rehabilitation over the past 5 years to 7 years has been decreasing, resulting in growing backlogs for infrastructure maintenance, and the backlog has grown to unaffordable levels. Whilst we are cognizant of the growing backlogs, we are limited in our ability to respond due to the suppressed revenue performance in recent years. This underperformance has been driven by persistent load shedding, customers going off-grid, growing non-technical losses due to infrastructure failure and illegal connections to the networks. There is also a need to drive increased efficiencies in our revenue value chain to improve productivity and shorten the cash conversion cycle. Our overnight measures need to also improve the decisive action and consequence management taken where underperformance persists. The projected revenue for electricity increases by 8.5% to 23.5 billion. The increase is largely as a result of the 14.97% pass-through cost from Eskom, as well as the strategic drive to reduce total electricity losses to the levels of at least 23% in the new year. This is also an expected 1.1 billion revenue from sales to Eskom through the extended back-to-back agreement with Kelvin Power Station and Eskom. Many municipalities like Joburg are now looking for alternative sources of power to plug the electricity supply gap. Through a feasibility study with clear timelines, City Power will commit to enter into long-term power purchase agreements with IPPs for the purchase of renewables or renewable energy. As the city's financial position strengthens into the future, additional financial commitments will be required for further expansion of this program. Through the 23.7 billion operational budget, City Power will be dealing with streetlight repairs and installations, responsiveness to service failures and preventative maintenance, and securing infrastructure from vandalism and theft. City Power is allocated a 3-year capital budget of 4.3 billion, which is aimed at various infrastructure projects. This includes energy efficiency at 234 million, public lighting at 172 million, rooftop at 200 million, security and protective measures to protect substations from vandalism and theft, 135 million. IT network upgrades at 205 million. Revenue protecting investments through upgrade of prepaid and smart meters, allocation of 403 million, and emergency upgrade work for various facilities countrywide of 275 million. The city will explore and adopt an energy mix that is not dependent on coal, such as mine gas from landfills, extract energy from waste, and use energy from renewable sources, such as solar energy. Johannesburg Water allocation for operational budget is 15.6 billion. This is mainly cater for tariff increase of 9.3 based on a pass-through on the water purchases from Rand Water to invest in maintenance of the water network. The entities further allocated 3.1 billion, a multi-year capital budget that is a 2.6 billion and 514 million for water and sewer respectively. The allocated budget will focus on programs capacity upgrade renewal program, caters for the augmentation of water supply and the renewal of aging infrastructure. The reservoir upgrade program provides capacity to maintain a 24-hour storage requirement. This is necessary to provide water pressure and continuity of supply to customers, to consumers in the event of supply disruptions. The water pipe renewal program aims at replacing the aging water infrastructure, or rather aging water mains, which have reached the end of their useful lifespan. Madam Speaker, the next cluster, which houses community development, health and social development, Joburg City Parks and Zoo, as well as the Joburg Theatre. This cluster's operating expenditure budget for 2023-2024 financial year is 10.9 billion. Across the 3-year medium term, the cluster's capital budget amounts to approximately 1.3 billion. As we break down into departmental allocations, community development has been allocated an operating budget of 1.4 billion. This allocation is for the maintenance of existing infrastructure and for operationalizing new infrastructure. Community development has further been allocated a 3-year capital budget of 338.7 million, Fontaine and Drizik, as well as a swimming pool in Cosmo City. Indeed, black people can swim. The revenue budget for the health department increases by 4.5% to 199.8 million, mainly due to an increase in the provincial primary health grant allocation. The operating expenditure budget increases by 6.7 to 1.5 billion, mainly due to an additional allocation of 10 billion for the rollout of sanitary pads program. Such programs are an illustration that we can turn the impossible to possible by making Johannesburg a center for social development. I therefore, Madam Speaker, make a call to all our councillors, senior managers of the City of Johannesburg, the private sector, to support this program by contributing in their own personal capacity towards the rollout of sanitary pads program. In this regard, 337.6 million is allocated for the 3-year capital budget and will be utilized towards capital works on a number of clinics, including Zandspruit, the Freedom Park, Naledi, Ikensile, and Protea South. The social development is allocated 359 million for operating programs that includes 20 million towards youth development, substance abuse, crisis and treatment center programs, assist the homeless, including shelters, skills development, rehabilitation facilities, work opportunities, and collaboration with NGOs. Consistent support and uplifting of marginalized communities such as women, youth, people with disability, and LGBTQIA+, through coordinated programs across all departments, training and support for early childhood development, and a food security program in partnership with NGOs and the private sector towards small-scale farming. The department's 3-year capital budget of 307 million will continue the implementation of the refurbishment of the Yetan Netan Community Center, Louis Botha Co-production Zone for Social Interventions, and Bertram's Multi-Purpose Center. Madam Speaker, Public Safety is allocated a 3-year capital budget of 146 million. Some of the key projects to be implemented includes implementation of Integrated Intelligence Operations Center, Phase 2, purchase of firearms and new recruits, firearms for new recruits, and continuation of the construction of the mid-range business desk to cater for licensing needs of corporate clients. Operational budget of 6.1 billion is the operational budget of 6.1 billion for 2023-2024 includes an allocation of 75 million towards a hybrid solution that aims to close some of the gaps that have emerged following the implementation of security insourcing. The expenditure includes allocations for ammunition, speed signs, and recognition medals and awards for JMPD. Allocations were made for public safety head office, for critical position, community outreach programs, and the disaster management fund. Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo is allocated a multi-year capital budget of 205 million. The allocation is set to cover upgrades to the zoo infrastructure, various parks citywide, as well as cemeteries, inclusive of Olifantsvlei Cemetery. The operating expenditure budget increases by 4.1% to 1.3 billion, which is below the consumer price index. The subsidy allocated to city parks and zoo increases by 1.6% to 1.1 billion due to the convention of intercompany grass-cutting revenue to a subsidy. The allocation is set to cover upgrades to the zoo infrastructure, various parks citywide, as well as cemeteries, inclusive of Olifantsvlei Cemetery. The operating expenditure budget increases by 4.1% to 1.3 billion, which is below the consumer price index. The subsidy allocation of city parks and zoo increases by 16.7% to 1.1 billion due to the conversion of intercompany grass cutting revenue to a subsidy. JCPZ will work closely with the relevant departments and entities to ensure effective management of grass cutting across the city. Joburg Theatres receives an operating expenditure budget of 263 million, an increase of 9.7% from the previous year, mainly due to increase on inventory consumed to cater for increases in cost of sales, hiring expenses, and other expenditure for the Arts Alive program. A 3-year capital budget of 73 million to upgrade the stage equipment at 45 million and 21 million for renovations in all three theatres. The Roodepoort Theatre, the Soweto Theatre, allocated. Madam Speaker, local government is the economic heartbeat of our country. As we approach 30 years of celebrating democratic South Africa, we must recognize that time is time now to implement our economic plans and tools. For example, the effective implementation of the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act and the Township Economic Development Act is a non-negotiable. As the City of Johannesburg, we must leverage our proposed operating expenditure budget of 7.7 billion for the economic development cluster or the economic growth cluster by increasing to 7.8% from the 2022-2020 total 6.7 billion. Therefore, the Economic Development Department has been allocated an operational expenditure of 256 million for 2023-2024 and 11.5 million capital budget over the medium term. The department will receive the Public Employment Program grant of 112.8 million, collectively deliver about 14,750 employment opportunities across various departments and entities. The department will also use the capital budget to implement the informal trade permit systems data intelligence dashboard services, which includes a query resolution and ticketing. The Transport Department is allocated a multi-year capital budget of 1.6 billion. Projects to be undertaken include 625 million for the continued investment in Rea Vaya, Phase 1C infrastructure to bring it to operational readiness, as well as refurbishment of the existing Rea Vaya infrastructure Phase 1A and 1B. 96 million has therefore been made available for Rea Vaya automated fare collection system to ensure completeness of revenue collection on the buses. The Transport Department's operational expenditure budget allocated is 2.5 billion, which will also see to the operationalization of the Rea Vaya route between Alexander, Sandton and the inner city, as well as the Johannesburg International Terminal Exchange. So 362 million is also available for investment in public transport facilities across the city, including in Cosmo City, Roodepoort CBD, Sunning Hill, Rosebank, Kaisense, Orange Farms, amongst others. Madam Speaker, the Johannesburg Roads Agency is allocated a 3-year capital budget of 2.5 billion and an operating budget of 1.5 billion for the 2023-2024 financial year. though the entity's budget needs based on the assessment of the infrastructure are far greater than the allocation made. Work will continue on addressing potholes across the city's roads through road resurfacing, road rehabilitation, which receives an allocation of 445 million. Roads will benefit from this allocation includes the M1 highway, M2 highway, Soweto highway, Klipfontein View, Spencer Road, Richard Drive, and many other roads citywide. The agency will also ensure the tarring of gravel roads citywide, and especially in Tsepiso, Maibuye, Kalfontein, Deep Slot, Orange Farm, Ward 77, Ward 133, and Ward 80. JRA will further target the maintenance of cities' bridges by conducting a detailed inspection of over 900 bridges and culverts over the next 2 financial years, 2023-2024 and 2024-2025. 419 million has been allocated to bridges over the medium term. Traffic signals downtime issues will be addressed with a 3-year budget allocation of 246 million for investment in intelligent traffic systems, inclusive of UPS and recabling, remote monitoring, amongst other interventions. Metro Bus is allocated an operating expenditure budget of 663 million. And a 3-year capital budget of 354 million. And this allocation would go to the following: purchase of new buses, 60 million, engine and gearbox refurbishment at 64 million, bus refurbishment at 85 million, and cashless ticketing system for buses on a board machine at about 60 million. Ladies and gentlemen, development planning is allocated an operating expenditure budget of 454 million. Included in the allocation is provision increased on employee-related costs to capacitate the law enforcement unit that will conduct regular inspections to crack down on illegal buildings and land use. Other service delivery initiatives include improving tizing applications, approval of rezoning, township and site development plan, applications and modernization of built environment automation system. The capital budget of 302 million over the medium term will be used for projects, including the 180 million towards precinct improvement projects in areas such as Mayfair, Fortsbeck, Brixton, Jabulani, Inner City, around the High Court, Newtown area, and other precincts. Work will also continue on the Inner City Partnership and the Soweto Strategic Area Framework. The Joburg market is allocated an operating expenditure of 567 million and a 3-year capital budget of 356 million. The budget is allocated to projects that include the upgrade to the Mandela market, 18.7 million, upgrade of the banana ripening and cold rooms at 20 million, alternative energy systems, 40 million to protect revenue streams during load shedding, also supported by a 26 million investment in ring feed and cashless projects at 20 million. Madam Speaker, Councillor Colleen Makubela, the Johannesburg Tourism Company has been re-established and allocated an operating budget of 73 million and a 3-year capital budget of 11.7 million to implement various initiatives to increase visitor numbers into the city of Johannesburg as a destination of choice and drive economic activity. The Metropolitan Trading Company is allocated an operating expenditure budget of 594 million and a 3-year capital budget of 21 million. The work of the entity includes improving connectivity throughout the city to support by providing free Wi-Fi services to citizens and Wi-Fi access across. And we will roll out 150 access points for a period of 3 years. The Johannesburg Property Company is allocated an operating expenditure budget of 1.1 billion and a 3-year capital budget of 254 million. The operating expenditure budget increases by 22.8 million, increases by 22.8% to 1.1 billion in line with the increase in revenue. Therefore, an allocation of 135 million was made for the leasing of properties to accommodate the staff during the refurbishment of the Metro Center. The capital budget will implement projects including the revamping of the informal trading stalls within the inner city, office space optimization program, and Walter Sisulu Square upgrade. The Johannesburg Development Agency is allocated an operating expenditure budget of 119 million and a 3-year capital budget of 1.3 billion. The entity will continue with its agency work on behalf of various city departments and entities, as well as precinct development work across the city. Madam Speaker, Councillor Colleen Makubela, our 4th cluster, the Good Governance cluster, which is made up of the Ombudsman, the Legislature, and the Office of the City Manager, with the following group function departments: Group Forensic and Investigations Services, Group Finance, Group Information and Communications Technology, and Group Corporate Shared Services. Without these support departments, nothing will be possible. The function of this cluster is primarily to enable the municipality to become a high-performing metropolitan government that proactively contributes to and builds a sustainable, socially inclusive, locally and integrated and globally competitive Gauteng city region. This function is extended to preserve a shareholder value of municipal entities and the professionalization of the local government institution, that is Johannesburg, to ensure that the citizens' experience of the city is that of quality and care across the regions. The 3-year medium-term capital budget of Good Governance cluster amounts to approximately 1.5 billion. So Group Information Communication Technology expenditure budget increases by 4.3% to 1 billion. Projects funded by the 3-year capital budget of 1 billion include: 1, the Smart City and Enablement at 150 million, Enterprise Resource Planning, upgrade of 320 million, application licenses at 383 million, and implementation of the e-procurement. Group Finance is allocated 5.6 billion operational expenditure budget and 48 million capital budget over the medium term. The department will focus on strengthening the city's financial position through the improvement of profitability and liquidity ratios of the city, improved customer centricity, customer experience, support for vulnerable residents through fair property rates, rebates, and strengthen revenue systems to ensure completeness and accuracy of resolution of billing queries as per the service level standards, increasing responsiveness to billing problems. This will expand engagement with customers through smart and virtual platforms. The portal will also go a long way in ensuring that billing queries and non-delivery of customer statements is dealt with efficiently. To our organized labor group, corporate shared services, operating expenditure budget increases by 1.18% to 1 billion, mainly to cater for the adjusted permanent locomotive allowance rate and the implementation of the political facilitated agreement, as well as contractor and specialist services, including the provision for the long overdue institutional review. The department also made provision for study bursaries for underprivileged individuals. The legislature, Madam Speaker, operating expenditure budget increases by 5.1% to 514.9 million. Below is a highlight of programs that are within the budget. Increased public participation and stakeholder interest by the city. Madam Speaker, our track record of running this city in a financially sound manner speaks for itself. We will rebuild the finances of the city by following stringent financial principles and present our city as an investment attraction destination and partner to our financial institutions and the broader investor base of the country and beyond. We wish to assure the people of this city that our belt-tightening approach in this budget will provide a solid foundation for the future, and the city will be well positioned to counter the economic downturn and provide improved protection to our most vulnerable members of our community. All our efforts and initiatives will come to nothing unless we partner with the residents of this city to achieve our objectives. To this extent, we invite the people of Johannesburg to walk this journey with us and hold us to account. We invite our residents to support our efforts in protecting our infrastructure so that the limited resources presented in this budget can be deployed in providing further services to our people. We know what it means to be a high-performing metropolitan government that proactively contributes and builds sustainable, socially inclusive, locally integrated, and globally competitive Gauteng City region. We call upon the employees of the city to own this IDP and its budget and ensure effective implementation. Madam Speaker, fellow councillors, on behalf of the Executive Mayor, Councillor Kabelo Kwamanda, and the Government of Local Unity, I present the following for consideration by this August House and for approval at its council meeting scheduled for the 14th of June 2023. Present the item Integrated Development Plan, IDP Review, Item 2, 2023-2024, 2025 medium-term operating budget for the City of Johannesburg. Item 2B, 2023-2024 and 2025-2026 medium-term capital budget for the City of Johannesburg. Item 2C, the report on outcomes of the public consultation on the process of the 2023-2024 budget and its revenue-raising measures and the technical evaluation led by the National Treasury. Item 2D, the draft rates policy and rates by law. Bylaws. Item 2E, funding plan for the medium-term capital budget. Madam Speaker, fellow councillors, residents of Johannesburg, I thank you. Thank you. I missed one step of the budget speech, which is to hand over the 2023-2024 to 2025-2026 medium-term budget to the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg.
A 1960 suitcase.
Now finished yet? Huh? Where are you going? Oh, it's done. No, that's here. The final speech is done.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you very much.
Hey, they're closing the meeting now.
Yeah, they'll have issues.
Thank you.
I have issues, I know. What? They may have issues with you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate the energy. Councillors, our guests, we are still in a council sitting. We are still in a council sitting. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, MMC Finance. Thank you, Executive Mayor. When we said that no one will get everything they wanted, but the people of Joburg will get what they needed, we did. Executive Mayor, we did not know that the legislature will be victim number one. And now I understand why MMC Finance kept calling Madam Speaker, Councillor Colleen, until I got to page 31, where we are the least funded as legislature. So henceforth, the Whip of Council and the Chair of Chairs, we shall provide strict oversight and we shall rule with an iron fist over this budget. Thank you, Executive Mayor, MMC Finance. We commend you for the responsive, reasonable, responsible budget that has indeed targeted and protected the important GLU priorities, from service delivery to economic development, housing, crime prevention, social development, including the provision of basic services, investment in our infrastructure, rehabilitation, and the energy mix that is required to keep our city lit. MMC, you have demonstrated a budget that takes care of our communities, the budget that is right for our times and readies us for the future, and it is indeed a belt-tightening approach that has been considered. You have considered our elders, our young people, which is reflective of the values of the GLU. It was President Biden who said that his father had an expression, "Show me your budget and I'll tell you what you value." So for what you have presented today, Executive Mayor, we thank you. I would also like to thank all our councillors, all our guests, all our residents and members of the media who have joined us today. We have indeed come to the end of this sitting. But before we can depart, there are a couple of announcements that we wish to make, and I will allow the Secretary to table the item of announcements.
No, we're now on announcements.
Thank you, Secretary to Council. Councillors, tomorrow, which is the 14th of June, we've got the debate that is happening here, the budget debate from 10 a.m. We encourage all our guests, our residents, to also join us tomorrow. It's a very, very important day where we need to approve the budget that was presented. So we ask that all the councillors be present in the House and all our media partners be present, and our guests and residents follow us in media for those that cannot be with us physically. I would also like to appeal to our guests and to our councillors to remain in the chambers. There is a protest that is happening, and the lifts have been closed out. The security is dealing with the situation. We do not want any of you to go out now, as you will not be able to pass beyond the access point to the chambers. Allow the security to guide us on how we are going to vacate and go to our next location. For those that are joining us for the cocktails on the 16th floor, you will be guided. For now, we are going to all remain in the chambers, and we are going to ask that you remain in the chambers. We are going to request the media to come down. We are going to proceed with the press briefing here. MMC Finance will proceed with the press briefing while we await the protest to clear. Once it is cleared, you will be allowed to leave. Whoever leaves the chambers, it is indeed at their own. We are putting a disclaimer as a city. I'm appealing to you to remain within the chambers until the security personnel gives us a green light that we can all vacate in a safe manner. Your safety is our biggest priority, and that is my request. Post the press briefing, there will be cocktails for MMCs, for the mayor, the guests, and all the residents that have joined us can join us for the cocktails and would like to network with the business community. Councillors, the session is now adjourned, and we'll ask the media to come and set up in front and allow the MMC Finance to have the press briefing. Thank you. Councillors, the exit is cleared now. The exit has been cleared. Those that wish to go home can go. Those that are joining us for the cocktails, you'll be ushered to the 16th floor. The exit has been cleared. Thank you.